The night was ink black, and the only sound that cut through the silence was the low hum of John's semi-truck engine. His hands gripped the worn-out steering wheel, and his eyes were fixated on the seemingly endless stretch of Route 66 ahead. John was a seasoned trucker, a man who had seen it all on the open road. He had heard whispers about strange happenings on this particular lonely highway, but he had always dismissed them as nothing more than ghost stories told by the truck stop regulars to pass the time. As the night wore on, a thick fog rolled in, obscuring John's vision and making it nearly impossible to see more than a few feet in front of him. He knew he needed to pull over and wait for the fog to clear, but there was no rest stop in sight. Panic began to creep into John's mind as the fog thickened, and he realized that he was completely alone on the desolate road. Then, a faint glow appeared in the distance, like the distant headlights of another vehicle. John squinted through the fog, trying to make out what it was. As he got closer, he realized that it was a car pulled over to the side of the road. A woman, dressed in a flowing white gown, stood beside it, her thumb extended in a classic hitchhiking gesture. Relieved that he wasn't the only soul on the road, John slowed his truck and pulled over. He figured he could offer the woman a ride and some company. She seemed vulnerable and lost in the thickening fog. The woman's face was hidden in the darkness and fog, but her voice was soft and soothing when she spoke. "Thank you for stopping," she said, her words carrying an air of grace. "I've been waiting for hours, and I'm freezing." John nodded, motioning for her to climb into the cab of the semi-truck. As she settled into the passenger seat, he noticed that her beauty was striking, with long, flowing hair and piercing blue eyes. He reached into the back of the cab, pulling out a blanket and offering it to her to help fend off the cold. As they continued down the fog-covered highway, John couldn't help but feel drawn to the woman. He attempted to make small talk, asking her name and where she was headed. However, she remained silent, staring out into the darkness ahead as if lost in her own thoughts. An uneasy feeling settled over John as the miles passed by. He checked the GPS, which showed that they were now in the middle of nowhere, far from any town or city. The fog outside grew thicker with each passing minute, and the road seemed to stretch endlessly into the abyss. It was then that he noticed something strange. The woman's reflection in the rearview mirror began to change. Her beautiful face contorted, her eyes turned a menacing shade of red, and her fingers elongated into sharp, gnarled claws. Panic surged through John's veins as he realized that he was not in the presence of a woman but something far more sinister. In a split-second decision, he slammed on the brakes, bringing the truck to a screeching halt. He reached for the door handle, determined to flee. But before he could make a move, the creature in the passenger seat turned to him with a wicked grin, its grotesque features illuminated by the truck's interior lights. Rows of sharp, gleaming teeth filled its malevolent smile. With a guttural, otherworldly growl, the creature lunged at John, its claws slashing through the air. He barely managed to fling himself out of the truck's cab just in time, narrowly escaping the creature's deadly grasp. He watched in sheer terror as the creature, now fully transformed, stood inside the truck's cab, letting out an ear-piercing shriek that echoed through the night. It clawed at the windows and doors, desperate to reach him, but something seemed to hold it back. In the distance, the faint sound of approaching headlights could be heard. Another trucker, unaware of the horrors that had just transpired, pulled up to see John standing on the side of the road, his face pale with fear. Without hesitation, the other trucker offered John a ride to safety. As they sped away from the nightmarish scene, John and the other trucker exchanged stories of their harrowing encounters. They both realized that they had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. The other trucker told John about the legends and tales of Route 66, stories of lost souls and vengeful spirits that haunted the desolate highway. From that night on, John never doubted the existence of supernatural forces on the lonely highways of the world. He became a cautionary tale for other truckers, warning them never to pick up hitchhikers on Route 66, for it was a highway of shadows where the line between reality and nightmare blurred into darkness. In the end, John's encounter with the creature on that fateful night changed him forever. He had witnessed the unimaginable, a creature born from the darkest corners of the human psyche. A reminder that the highways of the world held secrets beyond comprehension, and that sometimes the things we fear the most are very real, lurking in the shadows, waiting for their next victim.